In the cold darkness of deep space, a small cargo ship drifted slowly between stars. The pilot was a human named Eli Ward. He was a quiet man who liked working alone. Carrying supplies between faraway colonies paid well and didn't require talking to anyone. That's how he liked it. But today, something was different. As his ship passed a dead moon, a sharp beeping sound filled the cockpit. "Distress signal detected," the computer said. Eli frowned. "Out here?" he whispered. "Nobody lives in this sector." He looked at the screen. A single red dot blinked. It was an old emergency beacon, one used by alien ships, not humans. He hesitated. Space law said ignore non-human signals in unclaimed sectors. It was safer that way, but Eli's hand moved on its own. He turned the ship. 20 minutes later, he found it. A small alien pod floated silently in space, badly damaged. One side was burnt, the other was cracked open. It looked like it had been attacked or abandoned. "Life signs?" he asked. The computer blinked. "One. Weak. Fading fast." Eli sighed. "Guess I'm not getting paid today." He put on his oxygen mask and opened the airlock. Using a cable, he pulled the pod inside his ship. The doors hissed shut. The medbay lights turned on. Inside the pod was a woman. She was alien tall, with soft violet skin and silver markings on her cheeks. Her long white hair was stuck to her sweaty face. She wore what looked like a medical gown, now stained with blood. But what shocked Eli wasn't her species. It was her condition. She was pregnant. Very pregnant. And she was dying. She lay on the floor, barely breathing. One of her hands was on her stomach. The other was reaching out toward nothing. Her eyes fluttered open and locked onto Eli. They were bright gold, full of pain. "Please," she whispered in broken English. "Save my baby." Eli froze. This wasn't just a wounded soldier. This was a mother left to die, with a child inside her. He knelt down quickly and checked her pulse. Weak, but there. He grabbed a med kit and injected a stabilizer. Her body jerked once, then calmed. He lifted her gently and placed her on the med table. The ship scanned her body. The results flashed on the screen. Species, Zavarian. Condition, critical, internal bleeding. Labor imminent. Eli stared. Zavarians. One of the species humanity fought in the last galactic war. Cold, proud, and ruthless. But this one didn't look proud. She looked broken, abandoned, betrayed. As he worked, she spoke again. "Name, Zerha." "All right, Zerha," Eli muttered. "You're safe now. Just don't die on me." She shook her head weakly. "They left me," said. "My baby is ashamed to my house, not pure." Eli looked at her in shock. "What does that mean?" She closed her eyes. "Loved, wrong male. Not my kind, forbidden's child." Eli felt a strange chill run down his spine. Suddenly, the ship shook. A light flashed on the console. "Tracking signal detected," the computer said. Eli ran to the cockpit. A small red dot had appeared near his ship, moving fast. Someone was coming. He ran back to the med bay. "Zerha, someone's tracking you. Who is it?" She opened her eyes slowly. "My people. They come to finish it." "Finish what?" Eli snapped. "They don't want the baby to live." Eli stared at her, then at the baby bump, then at the red dot on his screen. He had two choices: leave her, stay safe, or save her and start a war. He made his choice. He grabbed the controls and turned his ship sharply toward a hidden asteroid field. He knew a secret outpost nearby, one with old medtech and hidden scanners. Maybe they could hide there. Maybe he could save her. As he flew, Zerha whispered again. "Why, help me." Eli glanced back at her. "Because no one should die like this." Eli Ward sat alone in the cockpit, staring into the endless stars. Behind him, the alien woman Zerha lay unconscious, her breathing slow but steady. Her belly rose and fell, cradling a life that should not exist according to her people. Or even his. Eli's hand hovered over the console's come switch. One call, one message to Earth Command, and this whole mess would be out of his hands. They'd send a ship, take her away, and he could pretend none of this ever happened. But he didn't press the button. Instead, his fingers curled into a fist. He looked at the radar. The red dot was getting closer. Whoever it was, they were coming. Fast, and they weren't coming to help. Eli knew the signs. No identification signal, no rescue code, no warning. That was a hunter ship. Damn it, he muttered. They're tracking her. Or the baby. He remembered the fear in her voice. They come to finish it. Zurha wasn't just injured, she was marked for death. And the child she carried was the reason. Eli rose from the pilot's chair and went back to the med bay. The room smelled like burned circuits and sterilized air. Zurha twitched in her sleep, sweat glistening on her forehead. The ship's scanner beeped again. Fetal heartbeat. Stable. Labor approaching. Great, Eli muttered. Just what I needed. I'm a damn cargo pilot, not a midwife. He sat on the floor beside the table, rubbing his face. I don't know why I'm doing this. He whispered to no one, but deep down, he knew. Because once, long ago, someone had left his sister to die too. And no one had helped her. He hadn't been able to save her, but maybe he could save this one. He stood again, sharper now. Focused. If her people were coming, he had little time. He had to hide and prepare for the worst. He typed coordinates into the ship's navigation, an outlaw asteroid outpost. A place he used to visit for black market tech. Dangerous. Hidden. Untraceable. The ship turned. Back in the med bay, Zurha stirred. She opened her eyes slowly. Her lips trembled. Why, not kill me? Eli leaned in. Because you're not my enemy. She shook her head. I was trained to kill humans. He smiled bitterly. I was trained to hate aliens. Silence hung between them. Then she whispered, but you're helping me. I'm not helping you, Eli said. I'm helping the baby. Zurha's eyes shimmered. Same thing. Suddenly, the ship jolted. An alarm blared. Hostile ship detected. Intercept in 10 minutes. Alele ran back to the controls. He activated the experimental cloak system, a risky tech upgrade he once traded fuel rations for. The ship flickered. The stars outside shimmered, and then they vanished, cloak engaged. Power systems at 65%. But the med bay lights dimmed. Life support dropped. Eli froze. The cloak would hide them. But it drained power. Too much power. Zurha and the baby wouldn't survive long in low oxygen. He had to make a decision again. Fight or flee. Expose his location. Or let her die in silence. Looked at the glowing monitor, then back at the med bay camera feed. Zurha was clutching her belly now. Her face twisted in pain. Labor had begun, and he was the only one. She had. Eli pressed a button and turned off the cloak. Power surged back. The ship lit up again. But now, he was visible. And the hunter ship would be on him in minutes. Eli spoke to the empty room. Come and get me, you bastards. But I'm not letting her die. He locked in the new course and hit full thrusters. The ship sped toward the hidden outpost like a bullet through space. The silence of space didn't last long. Just as Eli's ship cleared the edge of the asteroid field, a shadow appeared behind him, a sleek black hunter-class vessel, shaped like a spear and moving fast. Too fast. Unidentified alien warship approaching. Weapons armed. The voice of the ship's AI was calm. Eli wasn't. Of course they're armed, he muttered. They came to kill. Inside the med bay, Zurha screamed again. The pain was worse now. Her hands clutched her belly, her eyes wide with fear. Her skin shimmered with a faint silver glow, something not human, something ancient. Baby is coming, she whispered. Too soon, Eli rushed in, slipping on his boots. You need to hold on just a little longer. We're close. Where are we going? She asked, her voice trembling. An outlaw station, he said. Hidden in the asteroids. No law. No questions. Just enough tech to keep you alive. And the baby? She asked. Eli looked at her for a long second. Both of you. Back in the cockpit, the alien ship had locked on, targeting laser painted across Eli's hull. His heart pounded. No weapons, no backup, no mercy. Just one shot. And the ship would be dust. He didn't wait. Eli shoved the throttle forward. The engines roared to life, and the ship dove into the asteroid field, a jagged sea of floating death. Behind him, the hunter ship followed. Its weapons lit up the dark sky, blasting apart asteroids, sending rocks spinning in every direction. Each blast shook Eli's ship like thunder, but Eli didn't stop. He twisted the controls like a madman, weaving through sharp turns, dodging debris by inches. The walls creaked. Sparks flew. But he kept flying. Inside, Zerha let out a guttural cry. The baby was coming now, and Eli wasn't at her side. She reached for the wall, trying to pull herself upright. Pain surged through her like fire. Tears ran down her cheeks, not from fear, but from the memory of how her own people had left her to die. Suddenly, Eli's voice came through the intercom. Don't give up, Zerha. Just hold on a little longer. She whispered, You should have left me. Ayla's voice cracked. No, I've left enough people behind in my life, not this time. The outpost appeared finally just beyond the final asteroid belt, a massive rusted station hidden in shadows. No lights. No name. Just a floating graveyard of old tech and broken rules. Eli sent a burst code that an old docking hatch opened. He dove the ship forward, scraping the hull but forcing entry. He slammed the brakes. The ship lurched out behind them. The hunter ship was blocked by debris. It circled, scanning, waiting. They were safe. For now. Eli ran to the medbay. Zerha was barely conscious, blood on the floor, her body shivering, but her arms were still wrapped around her stomach. I need to deliver this baby, he whispered. Now. Zerha opened her eyes and smiled weakly. You are the strangest human I've ever met. You haven't met many, he said with a grin. Let's keep it that way. He activated the station's emergency med drone, rusty, glitchy, but still functional. As lights buzzed to life and machines whirred into motion, Ayla held Zerha's hand. Whatever happens, she whispered, protect my child. Eli nodded. Slowly, I will, even if I have to burn the stars to do it. The air inside the medbay was hot. Too hot. The emergency lights flickered. The ceiling fans groaned as backup power barely kept the room alive. But none of that mattered now. Zerha was in labor. And the baby was not waiting. She lay on the medical table, her silver skin glowing faintly, sweat dripping down her temples, her fingers digging into the edges of the table with every wave of pain. Eli stood by her side, panic on his face. I don't know how to do this, he whispered. I'm not a doctor. Zerha screamed, her body shaking. You don't need to be a doctor, she gasped. Just don't let me die. The med drone hovered above her, its metal arms scanning her body, projecting strange symbols on the display. Unrecognized anatomy. Error. Error. Eli kicked the drone hard. Useless junk. He took a deep breath and reached for gloves. I'm going to deliver an alien baby, he muttered. What could go wrong? As he helped her breathe, he saw something strange. Zerha's body began to shimmer, not just her skin, but the air around her. Like light was bending. Like space itself was nervous. And then a low hum echoed from her belly. The baby was glowing from inside her womb. Is that normal? Eli asked, eyes wide. Zerha smiled through her pain. No, great, she screamed again. The baby was coming. Eli grabbed towels, a scanner, and tried to remember everything he ever saw in emergency training vids. "Push," he said. "I am pushing." She screamed. Outside the med bay, the station lights dimmed again. Power was draining. And the hunter ship was still nearby, waiting, listening. Eli knew they didn't need to fire. All they had to do was wait for the station to fail. And the mother and child would die anyway. He had one shot. With shaking hands, Eli guided the child out. Zurha cried out a mix of pain and strength. Her body arched. Her energy pulsed. And then a silence, a single breath. Then, the baby was born, but it wasn't crying. Eli stared. The child was small, beautiful, and glowing softly with light from beneath the skin. But it didn't move. Zurha gasped. "Why isn't she crying?" Eli felt his throat tighten. I don't know." He turned the child over, cleared the airways, tapped the back. Nothing. He pressed 2 fingers on the tiny chest. Still nothing. "No, not after all this," he said. Choking. He held the baby close, doing light compressions, whispering softly, "Come on, come on, come on." And then a tiny spark ran across the baby's chest like electricity. The baby opened her eyes. One eye was golden like her mother's. The other, deep blue like Earth's oceans. And then she cried. A strange, beautiful sound. Not quite human. Not quite alien. Something new. Zurha began to sob. "She's alive," Eli whispered. "She's alive." Zurha reached out. Eli placed the child in her arms. The baby stopped crying the moment she felt her mother's touch. "She is Hope," Zurha said softly. "Hope?" Eli asked. "She should not exist." "But she does," Zurha replied. "So she is Hope." But just as that moment settled, the alarm blared. Foreign transmission detected. Docking clamps being forced externally. The hunter ship had found them. Zurha held her baby tighter. "They want her dead, still." Eli stood slowly, grabbing the old blaster he kept under the floor. He turned to them and said, "Let them come." The old station groaned as the docking clamps gave way. Eli aimed his blaster at the main hatch, breathing slowly, standing between the entrance and the med-bay dock behind him. Zurha cradled her newborn Hope wrapped in old cloth, the baby's. Soft light flickering in the dim room like a tiny star. "She's warm," Zurha whispered. "So warm," but her face was pale. She was weak. She couldn't run. She couldn't fight. And Eli knew it. So he'd fight for both of them. Door hissed. But what stepped through was not alien. It was a man, human, dressed in a dark Terran military coat. "Captain Elias Ward," the man said, lowering his hood. "Stand down. We've come to retrieve the asset." Eli's hands tightened around the blaster. "Asset?" he asked coldly. "That's a child." The officer stepped forward, flanked by 2 soldiers in silent armor. "She's a threat. A biological unknown. Unauthorized hybridization between species. Do you have any idea what that means?" Eli didn't blink. "It means she's alive. That's enough for me." The officer sighed. "We picked up your signal the moment you powered your cloak. Earth Command flagged your ship. You're lucky we got here before the Zavarians did." "I'm starting to wish they had," Eli muttered. Back in the medbay, Zurha sensed it. "They've come to kill her too," she said softly. "Your kind, my kind, the same." She looked at her daughter. No place for her. No world that wants her. Outside, Eli tried to reason. "She's not dangerous. She's just a baby." "Exactly," the officer replied. "And if she grows, if she survives, what happens when she chooses a side? What happens when she becomes stronger than both our species?" "That's not her fault," Eli growled, "but it would be yours." The soldiers raised their weapons. Eli aimed back, knowing it was useless. 3 against 1, no way out, unless he spoke calmly. "I'll hand her over," the officer smirked. "Wise choice." But only if I do it, myself. He turned and walked slowly to the med-bay.z. Rose stared at him, wide-eyed. You, giving her away? Her voice cracked. No, Eli whispered. I'm giving them something else. He gently picked up the baby, swaddled tight, and turned. His back to the camera in the corner of the ceiling. With quick, quiet hands, he slipped a tiny pulse grenade under the cloth. Not enough to kill, but enough to blind sensors. He kissed the baby's forehead. Trust me. Then he walked back out. He stopped a few feet from the officer and held the glowing bundle forward. Here, take her. But treat her gently. As the officer stepped forward, a sudden flash blinded the room. Boom. Not an explosion, but a brilliant shockwave of white light. The soldiers staggered. Eli spun, grabbing their weapons, hitting one across the face with the butt of a rifle. The second lunged. Eli shot him in the leg. The officer screamed, drawing his sidearm butt. Eli was faster. He aimed the blaster at his head. I told you. No one touches the girl. Eli grabbed Zerha and Hope, carrying them both down a side corridor. The station's old systems groaned, but Eli knew the layout. There was one more ship hidden in Bay 3, his emergency escape pod. Small, fast, unarmed, but it was their only chance. As they reached the pod, Zerha looked at him. You lied to them. I lie to everyone, Eli said, but never to you. He placed her inside the pod with the baby, powered up the engines, and locked the course to a neutral colony world, one where humans and aliens lived in secret peace. A forgotten place. Second chance. Zerha grabbed his wrist. You're not coming? Eli looked back toward the smoke and sirens behind him. If I go, they'll follow, but if I stay, they'll think you're dead. It's the only way. Zerha's eyes filled with tears. Hope will ask about you. Eli smiled softly. Tell her I was the stubborn human who didn't know when to run. The pod launched silently, like a bullet into the stars. Eli turned back, facing the broken hallway, blaster in hand, and waited. Not as a soldier, not as a traitor, but as a father who had made his choice. Silence filled the broken space station. The smoke had settled. The bodies were still, and Eli Ward stood alone, his blaster lowered, blood on his knuckles, bruises on his jaw. His ship was gone. So was Zerha. So was the baby, but he had bought them time, and now he had one last move to play. He limped to the communications console. Sparks flew from cracked wires. The main screen flickered, glitching between systems. It wasn't built for long-range messages, but Eli had something better, a smuggled Terran beacon, usually used for emergencies or black market transmissions. He plugged it into the console. The screen flashed to life. Transmit to all frequencies. He hesitated for only a second. Then pressed yes. Across the galaxy, the message echoed. My name is Eli Ward, human, cargo pilot, nobody important. Today I delivered a child, part human, part alien. Born from a war neither of her parents asked for. Both our worlds want her dead. Both fear what she might become. But I saw her. I held her, and she is not a threat. She is hope. Hope that maybe we're not as different as we think. So if you're hearing this, know this. I didn't run. I didn't surrender. I chose life over war. If that makes me a traitor, fine, but maybe it makes me human too. Then silence. The beacon self-destructed a few seconds later, burning the message into galactic memory. By the time the Earth soldiers reached Eli, he had dropped his weapon. He didn't fight. He didn't beg. He just said, do what you have to. They arrested him, but the galaxy had already heard. Meanwhile, on a dusty neutral world hidden from the central galactic maps, Zerha sat under the shade of a red tree. Her skin had regained its color. Her wounds had healed. Her baby, now wrapped in soft local cloth, slept peacefully on her lap. Locals came and went, both human and alien. No one asked questions, but many glanced at the baby with wonder. because even as she slept, little hope made the flowers bloom where her hands touched the soil. A few days later, a trader brought her the news. "Did you hear?" he asked. "That human who helped the Zavarian girl. The one who saved the hybrid baby." Zerha froze. "What about him?" They locked him away. Earth Command called him dangerous. Said he violated interspecies protection laws. But the traitor leaned in. Millions watched his message. It went viral across systems. Even some Zavarian elders are questioning their laws now. A movement starting. They're calling it Project Hope. Zerha's eyes filled with tears. She looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully in her arms. "He did it," she whispered. "Even from behind bars, he's changing the stars." Back in his cell, deep in a Terran black site, Eli sat quietly. No windows. No clock, just silence. But on the wall opposite him, someone had scratched a message into the steel. "You are not forgotten. Hope lives." He smiled. For the first time in years, Eli closed his eyes and slept peacefully. Years passed. Not many remembered the war anymore. Not the battles. Not the broken treaties. Not the silence after every death. But one story remained. A story whispered across space stations, colonies, and forgotten moons. The story of a human who risked everything to save a child that wasn't his. Child that wasn't supposed to exist. A child named Hope on the peaceful world of Nearis 5, where twin suns rose slow and blue. Hope stood in a field of tall silver grass. She was 10 now, but different from any 10-year-old in the galaxy. She had her mother's golden eyes, her father's stubborn jawline, even if he wasn't her blood, and something else. Something new. Where she walked, plants grew. When she touched sick animals, they healed. And when she was sad, it rained. The villagers called her the Sarburn. She just called herself Hope Ward. Zerha watched from a distance, sitting on the porch of their simple home. Her hair had turned pale blue with age, but her smile had never faded. Every day, she taught her daughter about both her world's Zavarian tradition and Terran truth. But every night, Hope asked the same question. "Will I ever meet him?" Zerha would nod softly. "One day, when the stars are ready." And one day, they were far across the stars. Public pressure grew louder. The man they had locked away, Eli Ward, was no longer a traitor in the eyes of the people. He was a symbol, a truth they could no longer ignore. After 14 years in silence, Earth Command released him. He stepped out, older, scarred, but free. He didn't speak to the press. He didn't return to Earth. He simply asked for a ship and set course for Nearis 5. Hope was in the fields again when she felt it. A hum, not in her ears, but in her chest. Like her heart had recognized something before her eyes had. She looked up. A small cargo ship, old, rusty, and slow, descended through the sky. She ran. Zerha saw her go and smiled through her tears. Eli stepped down the ramp, his boots touching Nearis soil for the first time. He looked around, and then he saw her, running toward him, faster than any child should, eyes wide with wonder and light. Hope stopped a few feet away, panting, her cheeks glowing. "You're him," she whispered. "The man from the stories." Eli knelt down, eyes misty. "You're not a story anymore." She stepped forward and hugged him tightly. He held her like she was everything he had ever lost and everything he had ever hoped for. Zerha arrived moments later. She and Eli locked eyes. No words were needed. Only a smile. In the days that followed, the galaxy began to shift. Human and Zavarian envoys met in secret talks, both sides asking the same question for the first time. What if we stopped fearing what comes next and started building it? At the heart of it all stood a girl, part human, part alien. All miracle. Her name echoed through new history books, across monuments and colonies, not as a weapon, not as a mistake, but as the first of many. Hope Ward. The girl who should never have been born had become the reason the stars finally knew peace. And it all began because one human decided that saving one life was worth more than obeying orders.